Welcome to Webinar Ready, Set, Go, the FSA Application Process, a project of Midwest Organic and Sustainable Education Service, MOSES, in partnership with Farm Service Agency, FSA. So this is an overview of the application process, and there are a couple of steps that you'll want to take prior to this process, and you can learn more details about these steps in prior webinars. But the first is that if you are looking to obtain a farm ownership loan through FSA, you will need a denial of a farm ownership loan eligibility from a commercial lender. So for whatever reason, you'll want to identify a property and then talk to a commercial lender, and for whatever reason they decide they will need to deny you and then give you a letter that says that you can then share with your loan officer through FSA. The other step that is a part of the pre-process is to identify a property if you're looking for a farm ownership loan, or a project if you're looking for an FSFL, a farm storage facility loan, or a farm operating loan. And these are all options that FSA offers that you can learn more about in a prior webinar. So your first step is to call the FSA loan officer in your county or in the county of the property that you would like to buy for a phone interview. And while you're in the process of calling that loan officer, you'll want to start collecting records to prepare for the application. And we'll go more into detail on what these records are, but some of them are financial, some of them are resume related, and there are many different things that FSA will work with in helping you get qualified for a loan. Step 3 is an in-person interview with the application. So you'll go in and talk with your loan officer. Step 4, your loan officer may need other records as she or he go to evaluate your application and your situation, and they might need some other things, and we'll talk more about what that might be. And then step 5 is to obtain approval. Step 6, purchase the property or the project materials. And then step 7, very important, make your payments and follow up with reviews. And FSA does require an annual visit and some different accountability tools to make sure that you're doing what you said you were going to do. Okay, so the first step is the phone interview. So you're going to call the FSA loan officer in the county of your identified property or project. And they will determine whether they can work with you or somebody else will work with you. It will be up to them. But mostly you want somebody that's familiar with your area and can help you with that. The second step is really important. The FSA is a great opportunity, and they have a lot of great programs, but you also need to be ready to sell yourself. You need to be ready to tell them about the experience that you have and why you're ready to get the loan that you're asking for your farm business. And it's really important in that process to be honest and don't get in over your head. You don't want to be in a situation where your farm business can't pay or sustain the loan that you've obtained. So really be honest with your experience and with what you have to offer. And you'll want to prepare some talking points for this phone interview. You'll want to have some things written down about your farm business. What your focus is, what your scope of production is. You'll want to have some things about how long you've been in operation. You'll want to be able to talk to your loan officer about what you have to offer and your markets and who your buyers are and all of those good things. You also want to be able to talk about your farming experience. How long have you been farming? What workshops and field days and educational opportunities, mentorships have you been through that have added to your experience? You'll want to have some talking points about your credit history. You want to know where you're at with your credit, and if you've got any, if you have some blips in your credit, that's okay. They're still willing to work with you, but you need to be upfront and honest about that. Okay, so step one, and this is really important just in beginning the whole process, is to determine your eligibility. And the requirements, the FSA requirements for eligibility vary based on the type of loan that you're asking for. For all loans, you must be an eligible farm enterprise. So you must be a production farm and not have non-farm enterprises like exotic animals or horses for racing, show, or boarding. If you're farming and you're using horses, that's a different thing. But your farm enterprise must be a production farm producing something that people are buying for food. Okay. And then with that, along with eligibility, there are general requirements for all loans. So no federal or state convictions involving controlled substances. Okay. An acceptable credit history. And this doesn't mean that you have to have a perfect credit history, but it does mean that you need to be able to explain everything on your credit history and talk about that in an honest way. You need to be a citizen of the U.S. or a legal resident alien. So this is important. No previous debt forgiveness by the FSA. You need to be in the position where they haven't had to let you out of a loan that you previously applied for with the FSA. And then, like we talked about earlier, you need to be unable to obtain sufficient credit elsewhere and in good standing with any federal debt other than tax debt. And then no federal crop insurance violation disqualification. Okay, and along with that, there are certain requirements for the different kinds of loans that you're looking for. So eligibility for an FOL or a farm ownership loan requires sufficient farm managerial experience. And this can be through education, on-the-job training, and or general farm experience. And you must be the owner-operator of a family farm after the loan closing. You also must have participated in the business operations of a farm or ranch for at least 3 years out of the 10 years prior to the date on the application. So that is a big piece. They need 3 years of management experience in all aspects of farm operation, farm or ranch operation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. Okay, your next step is to collect records, and these are financial records. You need to be able to show 3 years of financial records. So in our personal case, when my husband and I applied for our farm ownership loan, we had 3 years of the Schedule F that we were able to give to our loan officer from our farm operations. So that's pretty important. So tax info, the Schedule F, a balance sheet with your assets and your liabilities. And again, there's another webinar that will really detail how to create this if you don't have it, and what it really means in a lot of detail. The other piece that's really important is a cash flow projection, income and expense worksheets. And you'll need to know how you're going to cash flow your farm business, how you're going to show that you're going to be able to support yourself as well as pay your loan back. And then really important are sales records and invoices and off-farm pay statements. Many folks who are getting started farming and getting started buying a farm or, working on an operating loan will also have off-farm income coming in. And so having your pay statements on that to show the health of your financial situation is also really important. All right, step 2, you'll want to collect records about your farm business. So that means your articles of incorporation, depending on what kind of corporation you've decided on, if you're just a sole proprietorship or if you have become an LLC or an S or C Corp, however you've decided to incorporate your farm business, you'll want to show proof of that. And then this is a really important piece of starting any business, and you'll need a business plan. And there will be a webinar, creating a business plan, that you can follow if you need help doing that. But it basically, in a really simplified way, or to say it in a simplified way, it shows where you are and where you want to be with your farm business. Okay, and then you'll collect records, including your resume. So for the farm ownership loan, you need 3 years of farming management experience. So all aspects of farm business production, you need to show that you've been a part of the financial planning, a part of the production planning, a part of the buyer and sales planning, and all the different many aspects that go into a farm business. So field planning and crop management and rotations. This is really important. You need to show that you know how to take care of your fields and rotate those crops and manage the health of your soil. If you are farming livestock, the purchase and the breeding and the feed and then managing of your pastures, you need to show that you know how to take care of healthy animals. You need to show experience decision-making on purchase, repair, and leasing of equipment. Really important. You need to show that you know how to take care of the things that you will need to have a successful farm business. And then experience with marketing strategies, and then goal planning. Very important. Short, intermediate, and long-range goal planning, that you've participated in that in a meaningful way. And then continuing with collecting records for your resume, you will need to show for the farm storage facility loan and the farm operating loan, a little bit different from the farm ownership loan. Instead of 3 years, you need to show sufficient managerial ability. So this can be a combination of education, on-the-job training, and farm experience. And it depends on the complexity of the operation and the loan amount. So this is where your relationship and talking to your loan officer is really important. And you'll need to find out what exactly she or he needs from you to show sufficient managerial ability. And again, because this is evaluated on a case-by-case basis, it's really important that you work with them to find out what is going to work best for your situation. Okay, and so some of the ways, so we said there are 3 ways that you can show sufficient managerial ability. The first is education. So you can have a 4-year college degree or a graduate degree in an agriculture-related field, or a 2-year degree from a tech college in a related field. Successful completion of farm management curriculum is an option. Completion of community-based, nationally based, nonprofit or similar farm workshop programs can be an option. In our case, we attended many of the Moses Organic Farming Conference, workshops, and organic universities, and that benefited us, as well as Land Stewardship Project Farm Beginnings Program classes, and all of those contributed to help us be ready for our farm business. And then additionally, vocational or general ag classes in high school, working on a farm, growing up on a farm, and then 4-H, FFA, and then tribal youth organizations and others also apply to this requirement. Okay, on the job training. I like this picture. This is my husband teaching my son about the hopper, the fertilizer hopper on the little cultivating tractor. So hired farm labor experience with management responsibilities. So this helps to fulfill this requirement. A farm mentorship, internship, or apprenticeship program completion helps to fill that. Urban or community supported ag program participation. And then with that on-the-job training is farm experience. And you need at least one full season of being an owner, a manager, or an operator of a farm business in the last 5 years. And this also includes migrant farm worker employment, if you've been promoted to a leadership position, or if you grew up on a farm and had significant responsibility, that will benefit you as well. And then additionally, if you've obtained and successfully repaid at least one FSA youth loan, and this is another of the many options that FSA offers, and you can learn more about that in a prior webinar. Okay, so now moving on to the in-person interview and application. So obviously you want to fill out your application, and this can be a process where, once again, it's really important that you have open communication with your loan officer and you're able to ask them when you have questions, because there can be some things on the application that you might need help filling out. It's really like any other significant financial application, whether you've worked on a mortgage to buy a house or refinanced it requires some paperwork, and that's what this is about. So like I said, call your loan officer if you get stuck, or shoot an email to them, and then take it easy. Just go page by page and just do what you need to do. Make sure that you dedicate a good amount of time for this. Well, if you're working with a partner, sit down with your partner. If you've got children, get a babysitter. Really give the time and the attention that you need to this application, because if you do it right the first time, then it's that much better for everybody, because then your loan officer doesn't have to come back to you and say, I need this redone and all of that. Don't get bogged down. It can be a little overwhelming in any of these circumstances, and so it's really important that you ask for help. And then when you bring in your application to submit it in the FSA office, you'll have an in-person interview. And you'll want to be prepared for that interview. Be ready to talk about everything that's in your application. Bring all the collected records that have been asked for, and be organized. Know what's what and where it is in your packet of materials. Okay, and then step 4 is, it may not be necessary. It may be. It depends on your situation, but depending on what your loan officer needs and what your needs are, you may need other records. So as your loan officer goes through your applications, and they have very strict ways that they need to enter in your information so that it can be evaluated and processed. So they may have questions, so be available for that, and be available to get them the information they need. And this can take a little time, so be patient with that. And then once you get past all of that, you get to steps 5 and 6, which are approval and purchase. Yay! Congratulations. If you are approved for a farm ownership loan, you will need the usual home sale requirements. So like you want to get an inspection of the home. You'll need a septic inspection, things like that. The property appraisal, FSA pays for that. So they have people that they work with that are skilled in ag appraisal. And so they'll work with somebody to do that. And that's the part of the process they have 30 days, I believe, to work that out. There's more about this in the last webinar, in the mock interview with the loan officer in person. And that, I think that's a really helpful that might be a really helpful thing to watch, just because some of these questions are more covered in more detail with the real live FSA loan officer. You'll need a septic system inspection by a licensed plumber and a water test to make sure that, there's not nitrates and things in your water that are going to make you sick or your crops sick or your livestock sick. And then your loan officer will need to visit the property and make sure that it really is appropriate for production agriculture. And then once you have all of that done, you'll get to step 7, the payments and the follow-up reviews. And it's really important to follow your business plan. And as we all know, if we've been farming for any amount of time, there are a lot of variables in farming, and so you'll need to make adjustments as needed, but you just need to have good records of all of those things and have be able to show your loan officer or the person who is evaluating and following up with you why you had to make changes and what you did instead. And then, of course, you want to pay your loan on time. And if you can't, you need to contact your loan officer immediately to discuss loan servicing options to help you. My husband and I received a farm ownership loan, and we were surprised to learn that we make one payment. You can structure it different ways, but we make one payment per year for the whole year's payments. And so that is a big chunk of money, but it actually works well for us because we're able to make it at the end of our season. And so when we've sold our crops ideally, and we've got more money in the bank. And so that works really well for us to have the freedom during the rest of the year, not to have to be making monthly payments, but when we do have money to be able to pay that in one chunk. So you can talk about what works for you with your loan officer and what works for them. Of course, with any business, you want to keep your good business records of harvest and your invoices and your field plan and your livestock health and feeding and rotations and all those things. These all can benefit you in making you a better farmer, really, but also in case your loan officer needs to see these. And you can't place any additional liens or encumbrances on the property. So this is a property that you are in an agreement with FSA on. So nothing additional can be placed on the property. And then you'll need to attend any of the required production and or financial management skills training required of you according to your loan agreements. So you can talk to your FSA loan officer about that and find out what exactly they want of you for that. And then with that, you'll need to provide annual financial records to the FSA, and if necessary, host a farm visit for them. And this can be a really useful time for your FSA loan officer to come on out, and you can show them what you're working on, and they might even in that meeting have some other ideas of how you can work with FSA to get some of the other things you might need to grow your farm business, or to take it to the next level that you're working on. And if you have questions, you are welcome to contact Moses, Ask the Specialist line. We're happy to answer questions as you go in your process. Your FSA loan officer is also available to you and really helpful, but sometimes it helps to have somebody who's been through the process and who is actively farming and running a farm business help answer questions that you might have. There are a few employees that work for Moses that are able to answer some questions about that, and we're happy to do that. All right, well, we wish you the best in your process of applying for an FSA loan.